Yes, I guess.
Yay!
That's Barbara. That's Barbara. I'm not calling any shots around here.
This one keeps
No,
me in jail.
he's the shooter over there. He's the sharp shooter.
Oh, I'm good.
All right.
They told me I didn't need a microphone, so I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So I'm just, y'all know who I am.
Talk to him.
I have the distinct honor and pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, of introducing two people who in our blues world and blues dance and our blues culture are two people who have done monumental things for the art form. And I know that you all, as well as I, appreciate it deeply. So I'm gonna read a couple of prepared things here, and then y'all know the drill, y'all know me. Okay. 4-time Grammy winner, 11-time Grammy nominee, and visionary roots music storyteller. Keb Mo has cultivated a reputation as a modern master of American roots music. His genre-bending artfulness, intuitive lyrics, unique guitar style, distinctive voice, and magnetic charisma on stage have gained him the significant honor of being called a musician's musician.
Yeah.
And this one is the reason we're all here today.
Yeah.
How we love you. Oh my goodness. Whew. Originally from Detroit, Barbara Morrison's decades-long career as a performer and recording artist includes appearances worldwide with some of the greatest names in jazz and blues. She has performed with artists such as Ray Charles, Dizzy Gillespie, B.B. King, Buddy Collette, Joe Williams, Gerald Waite, Jimmy Witherspoon, Hank Crawford, Eddie Harris, Nancy Wilson, David T. Walker, and Jimmy Smith. She has performed in such highly regarded venues as Carnegie Hall. Oh my goodness, I want to be you when I grow up. The North Sea Jazz Festival, the Burn Jazz Festival, and the Playboy Jazz Festival. Among countless awards, Barbara has been nominated for a Grammy 3 times. Show them some love.
You guys gotta talk to Kevin. He's gotta get me a Grammy. I've been asking him, write me a song, write me a song. Okay, let's get right down to it, Kim. What do you think? We got some questions and A's, Q&A's.
I got the first question.
Okay.
To you. Why are you so fine?
He's trying to get next to me. I'm gonna do this. I'll be the first no-legged Playboy centerfold.
Just in the way, baby.
Okay. Well, let's start out with you. Anybody have any questions to ask us that no? How about, here's a good question. Is this your first, raise your hand if this is the first time you've ever met us. Aww. Well, has anybody read a little bit about us?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So being this your first time seeing us or getting to know us, what would you like to ask? We're going to ask you first. What would you like to ask us? I met Keb Mo in, 1975?
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right. We were working what they call the Chitlin Circuit. Does anybody know what the Chitlin Circuit is?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Matter of fact, we're getting the Chitlin Circuit review together over in, well, I always felt like that was like a crazy thing to call it, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, especially when you get to meet somebody like Kevin. I worked, for those of you who don't know what the Chitlin Circuit is, it's a circuit where black people could work. And the black clubs in Los Angeles were mostly in Central, located like Central Avenue, Martin Luther King, which was Santa Barbara when I got here.
Colored section.
Yeah.
First tell about what a chitlin is.
Does anybody know what a chitlin is? How many people don't know? Okay, a chitlin is the intestines of a pig or a hog, and that's in the days of slavery, when the master and all his family was fed, the slaves got to eat what was left of the pig, and so they found ingenious ways of cooking and making dishes out of the leftovers, and the guts were left over. So they would clean them and eat them. And that's how it got to be known as the chitlin circuit. I mean the chitlins. That's what chitlins were. And so when the club started, all over the world, I mean all over the United States, not the world, but all over the United States, there were places that black people could go and work. And most of them traveled by tent. And they take a tent and go to another city and put it up, because they weren't allowed to be in a lot of places. So they made their own little places. They made their own little clubs out of tents. Anybody know what C.C. Ryder is? C.C. Ryder, yeah, you know? Yeah. There was a song called C.C. Ryder. It was written back in the day when the preachers used to go from city to city, and they would preach, the evangelists, and they would pitch the tent and have church. And that's what they used to do with the clubs back in the 1800s. And C.C. Ryder is short for country clergyman. There's a song called C.C. Ryder, See What You Have Done, and the preachers would have their way with a different woman in every town, so they called him C.C. Ryder. C.C. Ryder, look what you done. So you end up with like 36, 40 kids. See what you done? But getting back to chitlins, the black area of the city, the black clubs where black people got together became known as the chitlin circuit. So Kevin and I met on the chitlin circuit. We was on the chitlin circuit. Then we moved out. I think probably about 86, 89.
No, I stayed quite a bit longer.
No. When we went to Monterey.
Yeah,
What year was that?
90.
Oh, that was 90?
90, yeah.
Okay. He left me with the chitlins.
I was raised in the chitlin circuit,
And
but I didn't know it was a chitlin circuit.
I didn't know it either.
I called it a gig.
Believe it or not, I didn't know I was black. I didn't know I was black until I was in the 3rd grade. And I came home and my mother said, I said, Mom, I really like my teacher. And she said, is she black or is she white? And I said, I don't know. I didn't know if she was black or white. And she said, Barbara. I said, Mom, what does that mean? And she said, does she have skin like me or does she have skin like you? And I didn't know. So she had to go to school. See if my teacher was black or white. That's a true story. But anyway, that was it. We stayed there for a while, didn't we, Kev?
Yeah, I'm still there.
You still there?
I stay there in my mind.
I am too. So that means you're chitlins. You're all chitlins.
This is
No.
the Q&A. So I noticed a lot of people raise their hand. They didn't know us. So, why are you here? Well, what are we speaking about today? What are you curious about today? Yes.
What are the biggest differences between your performing lives and performing lives for black musicians in general between the 1970s and 2019? What are the biggest things that are different?
Well, I wasn't around way back then, but what changed everything was things that everyone knows about, Jim Crow, laws, racial laws, hotels, private accommodations on the road. The other thing that everyone had to deal with was getting cheated out of your money on the road. You couldn't get paid. You go pay, have a sold out show, and then when the time you get paid, the promoter would be gone. So you have to, a lot of things like that.
It's a lot of things. Anybody musicians? Any musicians out there? It's a lot of things you have to be aware of. And as far as being a musician, and I want to say that a lot of musicians feel that they don't need an agent or they don't need a manager, and they're to be respected. Agents and managers are to be respected. I read a book. Does anybody? I know this is gonna say. No, nobody's gonna know who this is. But does anybody know Doris Day? Who she was? You do?
Yes.
Yay!
Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. She. If you read her book, there was a gentleman named Rosenthal who cheated a lot of people out of their money, but because like $20 million, $30 million. And because of her having an agent and a manager, she was the only one out of all the people he cheated that was able to recoup. So if you are a musician or if you are planning to be a musician, you better think twice about agents and managers because they're very important to what you want to do in life. And you can stay put for a long, long time. It's not even about how well you play. It's not even about how well you sing. It's about the confidence you have and to believe in yourself that you can do what you're doing. If you're computer literate, it's about what you can make. There's 5-year-olds, millionaires now that invent things because they can, and their parents believe in them, and they do. So I know it sounds like a bunch of mush, but if you are planning to be a musician, if you are planning to do what we do, I would advise you to seriously look at someone who can help you so you can work on your craft. Let them work on their craft by getting you jobs and getting you paid. And it's not just in this country, because I've been to several countries and some things happen where my money wasn't transferred to the bank, or I even had one promoter die. And I never, you gotta, it's called, to break it down, it's called show business. Take care of your business. Am I right, Ken?
That's right.
It's called show business. So.
Sure enough.
Show enough. That's good. That's a good song. Show business.
Good.
Take care of the business. So, does anybody know why? Okay, here we go.
You mentioned the confidence. Was there ever a point in either of your careers where you thought it wasn't going to work and then you pushed through, or?
Yes.
Well,
For me, I played music, but I didn't really commit for a long time. I just played. I didn't have any focus on anything. But one day I looked up and I was almost 40. I said, uh-oh. So at that point it got real, and I just said, well, I've been at this long. And I don't know that I got the confidence, but one thing I did get, I got the sense of that is this or nothing. It was just like, this is what it is. And I don't know that I ever became confident, but I became very clear about what it was I needed to do. And that's when clarity. They will start to see some things.
I was always cocky. I was always cocky from the time I was 5 years old. And my grandmother had a lot to do with that, because she was fat like me, and when she would get low and low, my uncles and aunts would go get Barbara, Barbara can make her laugh. And I was just, I could do like the splits when I was 5 years old. And remember Jackie Wilson?
Yep.
Jackie Wilson was out, and he had this song called Lonely Teardrops. And I could sing that song when I was 5 years old. And I did. And I'd grab the broomstick and go, my heart is crying. And my grandmother would go, ho, ho, ho. She had a big belly like mine. And she would go, ho, ho, ho. And I always felt like I was making her happy. And then and my dad was in Korea, and he had to kill people. And he turned into such a terrible, terrible drunk. But it was almost like my voice was magic. My mother would say, Barbara, get your dad up for work, he won't get up. Baby, go in there and make it. And I'd go in there and say, hey, Dad, let's go to work. And he'd jump right up. And then we would sing. There'll be bluebirds over white cliffs of Dover. It was an old World War II song. And then my father, he formed a singing group. And Pat Boone and all the white artists would sing, there'll be bluebirds over. My dad's group would go, there'll be bluebirds over. Oh, why shoo-doo-doo-up. And I learned all those songs because they practiced in our kitchen, and my dollhouse was under the kitchen table. So I knew all those songs. And one day I went home from school, and from college, and my friends came over. We were sitting in the living room floor singing songs. And my mother said, Barbara, the next day my mother said, Barbara, where did you get that song from? And I said, you know, Ma, I don't know. She said, why did you sing that song? I said, I don't know. I just started singing it. And I said, why do you ask? And she said, because your dad was half sleeping. When you got to one note, he said, woo. I had through osmosis. And one day he got real sick. And my mother was pregnant, and they were separated. So I went to the hospital to see him. And I was the only one in our family with a job. I had a job. I was 16. I was going on 17. And yeah, it was almost my birthday. And my father said, baby, I'm really sorry about being sick. He said, anybody ever ask you what you want to do? I said, no, Daddy. He said, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with your life? I said, I want to be a singer like you, Daddy. And he said, you go be a singer. I promise you I'll take care of your mother. I know she doesn't want to have anything to do with me right now, but I promise you I'll take care of her. And you go get the big picture. You can always come home. I'll keep the mortgage paid, and you can always come home. And I do remember saying, nah, I'm gonna stay home with Mom. Because by that time I got a scholarship the next year to Eastern Michigan University. And my mother had her little bump there. I got off work one day and passed out, and I can hear her say, get up, you're going to school. I said, get up. I said, Mom, and I opened my eyes, and she had on a green dress, and in her hand she had another green dress. She said, put this on. It was just like hers. And she walked me over that whole campus with her bun and enrolled me in school. That's when I knew I was going to drop out and go to California and be a singer. I'm exactly 17 years and 11 months older than my sister. I said, I'm not staying home having babies with you, Mom. I'm getting out of here. My first record I sent home to my dad, and my sister said, "What did you do to Daddy?" I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "He's in the room crying." I said, "Put him on the phone." "Dad, what did I do? What did I do?" He said, "You did it, baby. You did it. And you didn't have to come home." And that's when I was in the Johnny Otis show. And I stayed in that show 21 years. Yeah, and I just found out this year that they recorded us at the North Sea. Johnny Otis live at the North Sea. That's a good video. Yeah. I didn't know I was so, No, I'm just kidding. But I had a lot of fun, and that's how I started my career. And of course, he discovered a lot of people. He was known for that. As a matter of fact, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame as the godfather of rhythm and blues. And he was known for finding talent. He found Big Mama Thornton. He found Etta James. He found Little Willie John and Mel, what was Mel's name? Jesse Belvin, Mel Carter. He found a lot. His own son, Shuggy Otis. Does anybody remember a song called "Hello, My Love"? The Strawberry Letter 23?
Brothers Johnson.
Brothers Johnson? No?
Shuggy Otis.
Damn, we old.
Shuggy Otis.
Shuggy Otis wrote that song, and out of it came so much money. He bought his father a home and a recording studio, and he bought Anna James a house right across the street from Johnny Otis. They had a nice little village there in the Athens.
I went over Johnny Otis' house one time.
You did?
Somebody told me about Johnny Otis' house. I met him
Yeah.
at his house.
Yeah.
In Athens.
In Athens.
Athens was the nice neighborhood in the ghetto.
Yeah.
It was like every neighborhood has a nice park. Like
That's true.
Fancy where all the rich folks stay. And Watts in South Central, they had like Athens Park and Baldwin Hills,
Yeah.
Black Beverly Hills.
Does everybody live in the Los Angeles area? How many people live in the where do you live?
I live in New York.
New York? Start spreading the news. You just came from New York. Didn't you do the Blue Note?
No, Waikiki.
Waikiki?
Blue Note, yes.
Oh, the Blue Note in Waikiki.
I saw Bobby McFerrin at the Blue Note in New York when he was there.
Yeah.
That was good. That was really good.
I love him. I had a chance to work with him at Columbia College. I teach at Columbia College too, and UCLA. But at Columbia College, they always have a vocal camp. You can go, and you don't have to be a student, you can go. They have over 500 singers. Any singers in here? Kid, we're in the wrong room. We only got 2 singers in here, man. We gotta get out of here.
That play, Big Mama. Did you write that play?
No, Michael Cormier wrote it. I remember you coming.
Yeah.
Kevin came to see
Just so
me.
you know, Barbara Morrison is also a great actor.
I played Big Mama Thornton.
One woman show. Big Mama Thornton. Brilliant. She's killing it.
No better, no more than you, Kev. I remember we went to Monterey. I said, Kev, get out there. He got out there all by himself, right in front of the curtain. He played a set, killer set. And the curtain opened up and we backed him up. And that's when you met John Bossamino, right?
No, I mean,
Was it Bossamino?
maybe that was later on. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he remembered you. Gave him a lift. Okay, come on now. Oh, I'm sorry.
What's your most memorable experience while performing?
Most memorable experience while performing?
Yeah.
I take so many drugs I can't remember. But I guess my memorable experience is probably watching other people perform. You know, or just like being around people that are really of some note. Like I sneak up on people and watch them when they're not looking. And my two favorite stalking things is, one was I was in Europe somewhere, and I went backstage where Aretha Franklin was performing. And I just stood in the corner and I watched her walk to the stage. And then she went out there and started singing back there. Just kind of,
Oh, my most memorable experience was I was just about to open my mouth and sing a song, and I heard this voice singing the song. And I said, what the? There's a big band, big orchestra on stage, and I went, and it was Nancy Wilson.
Oh.
She was in the back, and she grabbed a microphone and walked out on the stage, and the crowd would roar. So I just did like this.
somebody said who's Nancy Wilson?
No, which Nancy Wilson?
Not the hard Nancy Wilson.
Not the hard Nancy Wilson.
Nancy Wilson, the jazz singer. This gentleman over here.
This question's for Kev. When you're writing music, do you think about like, oh, this one's going to be a blues song, this is going to be like a folk song, or do you distinguish between those things? Or does it feel like all your music is blues music, or how do you think about that?
I think about subject matter first. And what it's going to be is determined after the subject matter is coming up with. Because that's either, whether it's blues or whatever it is, to me, it's like I'm looking for something I can sink my teeth into. Something that every time I sing that song, I remember what it's about. Like a moment, like watching Aretha Franklin go. Or just some kind of moment that I can latch on to. So if I latch on to it, I tell the story right, and the story means something to me. Whether it's a blues, or a ballad, or a folk, or whatever it is, soul, rap, funk, I got something to hang on to when I'm singing it. And then I can transfer that feeling out to the listener, be it electronically or live. You know. That's what I think about. But I stay close to the blues because the blues is where that's my home. You know, even though I like to do other things, a lot of things, but the blues is the truth, you know. You can't escape the blues. It's like for me, when I started up, because for a long time when I met Barbara, I don't think I was really playing the blues. For a long time I didn't play the blues, I just would sit around and play at it. But, you know, went over there when we were starting playing at Marlo's Memory Lane on Monday nights.
Yeah.
That's when it started kicking. That was probably 1984. I remember because the Olympics was in LA.
And you weren't born.
That's sad. Oh, he wasn't born?
No,
What do you
born in
think?
92.
92. Jesus.
I
I
remember
think I bought this suit in 92.
shoes.
Jeez.
I remember the Olympics. We did the Olympic Blues Festival at the Wilshire E-Bell, and Esther Phillips had just passed away. And Etta James and I were, do you remember how Carlos and we were at the Olympics in someplace, Rio somewhere, and Etta James and I were on stage like this, in mourning for Esther Phillips. They announced it while we were on stage.
I was at the Pied Piper one time when I was like 20, 21,
And
and I was playing at the Pied Piper.
And what happened?
And I was playing there, and I was really young and stupid, you know, and they let me play with them, even though I was young and stupid, the band did. And I had a regular gig there, 2 nights, I think 2 nights a week. And one time, Esther Phillips came up, and I couldn't believe it. I thought I was playing with Esther Phillips. I mean, she was there, and I was playing.
She was a Johnny Otis discovery too, by the way. Yep, he discovered a lot of people. He discovered her at 13, and her first record was Double Crossin' Blues. And I remember that line in there because it talked about bears in the forest and Domer Evans would come in and go, you know they got lady bears out there too. Double Crossing Blues. They're doing a documentary on Johnny right now.
Yeah.
His grandson, yeah. Okay.
Sure. I have two questions. First, what was it like to play at the White House and bring that soul to a big old house? And then second question for both of you is, who do you wish, and you can still, maybe not still, but who do you wish you could perform for?
Who do we wish we could what?
Perform for.
Perform for?
Well, playing at the White House, that was a huge deal. You know,
I saw Obama introduce you.
yeah, I was introduced, yeah, that was really something. And it was a huge deal. And I'm kind of, I tend to be a little thick in the head, you know, so I don't really realize what's going on until like 10 years later, how profound these things are, you know, because in the moment I'm just like, just like when Barbara, when I was, you know, playing with Barbara, and she would let me go out and play before you know, so before she came on, you know, I only now realize how profound that was, you know, and that was 28 years ago, something like that, you know, since like that. And another part of your question was, what was the other part of your question?
Who do you want to perform for? So.
Oh. Perform for, well, I like performing for audiences. I don't really single out people I want to perform for. You know, I kind of go like, to me, the audience is a one thing. And every audience has a collective kind of consciousness and a collective feeling. Every one of them is different, just like every individual is different. So, I was always wishing for, to be able to play. So whoever I play for, I'm going like, wow. So I don't have this fantasy about, I want to play for. I like more watching people play. I like to, you know, I like watching Bobby McFerrin. You know, I like listening to Anita Baker sing. I like, you know, I'm a music fan more than wanting to into myself. You know, because I'm always struggling trying to be somewhat adequate at performing. So going like, you know, for me to be this presumptuous thing like, I want to perform for the Queen of England. You know, I kind of know that. Yeah. But I just love performing, so I'm not picky. I'm easy and cheap.
We got over here.
That you would like to, dead or alive, and how do you think it would go?
I think I like to perform with Gladys Knight, and I think it would go really badly because she'd probably laugh my ass right off the stage. But I would be honored to be laughed off the stage by Gladys Knight.
I always loved the PKs, you know, like Marvin Gaye, Aretha, Johnny Taylor. All the PKs, when I say PKs, I mean preachers' kids. That soul, that deep down soul that they have in there. You can tell their parents were. They watched their parents as they were growing up. And it just takes you to another place. When I hear Donnie McClurkin and Yolanda Adams sing the prayer, you know, it's classical, it's blues, it's singing, it's just everything. And yeah, and to answer your question, who I would like to perform for, I would like to perform for people that smile.
Oh.
You know, I'm serious, because you can get one person out there like, what's she gonna do now?
That's what you get.
And
You should insert.
And it can change your whole temperature, especially if they're sitting right down front. They done had a bad day, they come down there and take it out on you, you know. But I love it. I love it when people smile, and I love it when you don't have to smile, but when you do something like that, and you get grooving with me, come on. That lets me know we got the same thing happening, you know. And that makes, when you do that, boom, 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 that knocks me out. It does, because he'll, and I'll be going, right with his butt. See? And he be looking at you smiling too. Sometimes he go. In other words, don't you get it? I'm playing that chord for you.
I see somebody down in the audience and they're sitting there, usually the one that when you get like this.
Yeah.
They usually sit front and center. Yeah.
Yeah,
They want the best, that person wants the best ticket in the house. Front row, front and center.
Oh, wait a minute. One time I had a review that said, she's a red hot vocalist from da 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 da. So this lady came and she said, well, the paper said you were real hot. When are you gonna get hot?
Fighting words.
Yeah, man.
Did you get your knife out?
It was jumping up and down in my pocket, trying to get it out.
Don't cut her, Barbara, don't cut
The
her.
paper said you were hot. When are you gonna get hot? Oh, she said that. She asked. They
I love
try,
that stuff like that.
yeah, they try to, you know, people can cut you, but the best thing is a good attitude. Yes, sir.
Sort of related to Riley's question, and especially since you were talking about Bobby McFerrin. Bobby McFerrin did an album with Yo-Yo Ma. And that was sort of a cross-genre collaboration. Who is someone that you would like to work with in a totally out of left field genre that we might not be like, whoa, Kevmo and insert person here?
Terrence Blanchard.
Nice.
He's our new director.
Yeah,
He's our new director at UCLA.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
We just got it. You have to come and see.
What you're thinking now, it's powerful. You start thinking and it starts moving.
He's our new director of jazz studies, global jazz. We have
Did
a
he move to
global
Los
jazz.
Angeles?
He and his wife.
Call him up. You guys number?
Yeah.
Okay, call him. We're gonna call him. My brother.
I love him. I toured with him. And Ron Carter. I toured with Terrence Blanchard, Ron Carter, James Moody, Jimmy Smith, and Marvin Smitty Smith.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really nice. Terrence Blanchard, I love him. He just did the score to the movie Harriet Tubman.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, with the museum that you're running and we're trying to raise money for, and as well as you just breaking grounds with your Grammys and bringing blues to whole new audiences, what are you guys hoping we take from your music and your legacies, and where do you want that to keep going after you're gone?
Ooh, exposure, I think. My biggest thing would be to expose more people. The blues is really big, whether it's here or not, around the world. And in Europe, they have over 400 jazz festivals every year. One blues festival will play for them all. That's how big the blues really is, and gospel. And the exposure is not just in this country, but I think more exposure to our own culture, to our own people. You know, you don't find many African Americans going to a blues concert. You find most of the people that do are going to learn what's this all about? You know, what are they doing? Why are they doing it? And that would be my purpose. My purpose would be to expose this music to more African Americans, that I think that if they look deeper, and not to be ashamed of it, not to be ashamed of it. I think that, does everybody know who Willie Lynch is? There you go. That it's an old, terrible thing that our culture has a hard time dealing with and getting rid of. And it's no different than Japanese music, or no different than going to Belgium or any other country. You know what I'm saying? Like classical is big in Europe. It was big here. When K-Jazz became K-Jazz, it was KLON. And they had 400 subscribers for classical. And they only had like maybe, 400,000 subscribers for classical, and maybe only 400, for the blues. You see the difference? You see what I mean? So I think that it would be advantageous for us to continue to give the people what they want, and that's what they want, but more exposure. They do want it.
Oh, blues, the blues is their something. It's a kind of magical music, and it's old music, and it's a new music, but it's got a lot of history.
Yeah.
And eventually, for me, my experience, it'll sneak up on you, and it's not so much about the blues itself, but in life, the truth will sneak up on you, and all the time, So, to me, the blues is a connector. It's a big part of history, world history and American history, and every culture has it. But
Yeah.
some kind of blues, and it's just I think it's more about truth. Like they used to call it, before they called it the blues, they called it the reels. The reels. So real life things. It wasn't always sad. It was happy sometimes.
Yeah.
Too, So. Like that real happy song, I'll be glad when you're dead and gone, you old rascal. That's pretty happy, isn't it? We're gonna be laughing and hollering when they drag your sorry butt by. That's pretty But, yes sir.
So, it's not a question, but my opinion as I'm an Asian from
Speak
Korea.
louder, speak louder.
There's an event in Chicago called Blue Shop. On the way back to the airport from the Blue Shop, we took an Uber, and the driver was a black guy. He was young. So I was asking him like, oh, I'm from Korea and I'm here to learn and dance blues in Chicago. And he was like, well, because young black people, they don't really do blues because they think like it's old thing. So they're like, oh, we don't do it, we just do hip hop, So that kind of made me like sad because, we understand it's a new thing and they want to move forward all the time, but there's something that you're going to need to keep it going, right? So even we're not black or we're not American, but still we love this, this is what we're trying to do. But I really hope to see more black people doing this.
Yeah.
Even if you look around this room, you can really see many black people here, right?
Yeah.
Most of the people are here in white or maybe
Yeah.
Asian. So
That's a testament to the power of the blues. At the same time, there is a lot of young African American blues artists and blues people, but like those who listen to rap, they don't listen to soul anymore either. They don't listen to the 40s anymore. Anything. There's a lot. Blues, like Barbara mentioned Willie Lynch. This is a really touchy subject. There's a letter kind of like called the Willie Lynch letter, and you have to understand the history. And with blues, you kind of understand the dark history of America, of how slaves were brought over from Africa, not necessarily all the same parts too, and everything was taken, all your history was taken away from you, So we have a very short history in America of recorded history, which goes back, my family goes back, I can trace my family back to about 1860, you know, through slave documents and things like that. But your names, you know, my name is Kevin Roosevelt Moore, you know, like that lady, what that lady said, that's not my name. That's not really my name. You know, I think really Kev Moore is my name on a deeper level, you know what I mean? But my legal name is Kevin Roosevelt Moore. So, you know, had things gone well, right, you know, I would be, you know, Ubuntu Bagadugo Zimbabwe Dumbopo, something like that, you know. But so in my soul, all those connections are being reconnected and re-fired up. You know, the blues is old history now, you know, and it's just, and it's painful to African Americans, because when we hear it, we really hear it, you know, in a way. So, you know, it's kind of fun when, like, you know, white or Asians hear it. Oh, that's cool, that's really good. When you hear something, you feel something that's really valid. But when I hear the blues, I'm going like, oh shit. I hear cotton picking, you know what I mean? I see like people swaying from trees. I see colored only signs. I see all this stuff, pain, you know, stuff that's in there. And I embrace it and I take it to like, that's what my whole thing is built on. Yet a big negative thing, yet I'm rising out of it in a positive kind of great way. And overall, when you read like a Willie Lynch letter, which is a letter, just so those who don't know, slavery was a business, basically, like any other business, you know. And so when down in the Caribbean, when slaves rose up and killed slave owners, that was bad for business in the slave world. So they brought in a consultant to fix the slave thing. His name was Willie Lynch. Hence the name lynchings. That's what they call lynchings. They named after Willie Lynch. So he wrote a letter, and it's instructing him how to separate all the slaves and turn them against each other, much like we have now, like left wing, right wing. We got like conservative and liberal ideas, and they successfully turned the lighter slaves against the darker slaves, the younger slaves against the older slaves, and emasculated men by going into the quarters and taking their women at will, and they want to made the women not trust the men and the men not trust each other. So now you're building on a thing, and they did a very good job of brainwashing and conditioning this. And people don't talk about it, but when you read the Willie Lynch letter, this stuff is all living right before you right today. That explains gangs, that explains economics, why, like, you know, African Americans in America make $1 trillion a year, but can't really, you know, it's a thing, it's a atrocity of the soul, so to speak. So when you hear the blues, you hear that thing, you hear that, and if you're a Black American, you don't even know what you're hearing, but you go like, oh, let's go listen to some rap. I don't like that. That hurts too much, because it's so deep in you. It hurts, but you don't know it's hurting.
And you own it. And those stories are handed down to your children, handed down to their children. And that's why they're so interesting. That's why they're told over and over and over again. And some people say, why can't you forget about that? This is a new day. You can't. Those stories are told over and over. Another man done gone. Another man done gone. Another man done gone. Another man done gone. You hear the format of the blues. Well, that's a message. Why they picking cotton? You gotta run away. Gotta run away. That's what that means. I'm gonna work his load. I'm gonna work his load. That means move in tight, so the master can't see he gone. Then give him a chance to get away. I didn't know his name. If he was standing next to you in the line, tell somebody his name so he can get to his family, because they're gonna go over there and they're gonna pressure the family to tell him. I'll go. This is how we had to give messages to each other. I didn't know his name. And then your grandmother tells her kids, and her kids tell their kids. These stories are handed down and handed down. And I'm sure there's stories like that in Korea. I'm sure there's stories like that in Japan. There comes the feeling. There comes the feeling of the blues. And Vera Hall, look her up. Vera Hall is singing Another Man Done Gone with all these messages in it. You understand? And then you get somebody come, oh, forget about that, da, 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 da. You get another generation. No, I can't forget.
But you can't.
You can't forget it.
Because it's in your.
It's in the chords.
So when you're listening to gospel and you're listening to the blues, you're listening to some history. You're listening to some stuff that's so deep and it moves you. That's why it moves you so much.
Yeah.
You're listening to things you don't even understand you're hearing.
When I was in Russia, I was the only girl in the band, and the promoter came to me, and he said, Miss Morrison, do you mind if, he didn't say it like that because he was Russian and I didn't understand what the hell we had interpreted. They said, Miss Morrison, do you mind if our group could sing a gospel song on your show? And I said, of course I don't mind. If I had closed my eyes, I would have sworn I was the Black Baptist Church in Mississippi. That's how big gospel is in Europe. Yeah, and that was in Tbilisi, which used to be a part of Turkey that the Russians encountered. I don't know how they took it, but they got it. But I said all that to say, it's not just a black and white thing. The blues is a feeling. It's down in you. It's in the chords. It's in your life. And a kid could have the blues if he fell in a mud puddle walking in the street. So
Have
there
you
go.
met Kingfish? No, no Kingfish? See, no. He's like, I don't know where he came from. He just rose up out of these just like,
And the Pine Top Foundation.
just.
Huh?
Pine Top Perkins Foundation. He went to summer
Clarksdale.
camps there.
He went to Clarksdale Blues.
Yeah.
But he's one of those kids with that spirit
See?
decided to rest up in him. You know, that spirit, because you just don't get that. You can't just jump out and just do it. That's something that's like, you know, is it in you or it ain't? You know, and he's like a gift from heaven. You know, and so all those things. We're always talking about like the field howlers, those little moaning,
Yeah,
and so
those are messages.
yeah, and so all that stuff is really, it's good. So the blues is very human, very, very human.
There he is on the floor back there.
I was wondering, since you just contextualized Another Man Done Gone, are there some other songs that have messages that we may not be aware of?
Oh, yeah.
And can you tell them?
If you listen to Kevin Moore, he tells wonderful stories in his songs, his original songs. Yeah, there's a lot of stories. The one I told you about, C.C. Ryder. Oh, C.C. Ryder, oh, see what you have done. C.C. Ryder, see what you have done. You messed up my family. Ah, you done me wrong, and now you on the run. The preacher had to go to the next city. They ran him out of there. You know, there's a lot of messages in the songs.
But in the words, they're in the feeling. It's like when you write a song, there's the words to the song. There's the words, and the words don't necessarily mean what actually happened, but the words are inspired by the actual situation that happened. And then when you hear it, some kind of way, that's why I think I answered your question earlier when you asked about songwriting. So you know, in those field hours and those old blues songs, or any song that is, you know, that touches you.
And there's not, I'm sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
No, well, there's more to it.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe not what you're hearing, but you're hearing the intention that's between the words and the actual.
And all the songs aren't sad. Some, they're happy songs. Happy songs with the blues, like Hey, Hey, the blues is all right, Little Milton. I got this song I want to sing it just for you. If you dig the blues, I want you to sing it too. And I want you to know the blues is back and it's here to stay. Everybody say, hey, hey, the blues is all right. You know, hey, hey. There's happy songs about the blues. So, I'm sorry.
Speaking of songs and songwriting, do either of you have a song that sticks in your head as the hardest song you've ever had to write?
It sticks in your head of what?
As the hardest song you've ever had to write?
Yeah.
Which song?
I'm just amazed at myself when I write a song.
Well,
I did write a song in 1981, I think it was, but it was a nice song. It wasn't hard. It wasn't hard to write either. Where did you come from?
well, what's hard to write hard when something that's emotionally difficult for you?
That's a mood thing too.
I like songs that are a little uncomfortable, you know, to sing. Like I write songs about very personal things, and I don't always tell it. I just write about them, you know.
I think we should write a song about how cold it is in this room.
Here you go, baby.
Shivering is not dead. Kevin, you're making
1992, I bought that girl.
He's making me feel like I should lose more weight. Yeah, but any more questions? I see a hand back there.
Yeah, I have a question about the song More Than One Way Home, which I enjoyed listening back in '98. And in fact, I saw Mr. Moe in '99 when you were looking this over.
You know, that song, that song.
It's a very personal song. Is it autobiographical in any way?
Yeah, it is. It's about, I can give you a rundown on that song. That song was, I have a co-writer named John Lewis Parker that we write a lot of songs together. He's also a muse. He likes to pull things out of me because we've known each other since we were like in our early 20s and played on the road. We got a lot of, there's no BS between us, you know. He said, why don't you write something about Compton? I'm like, So, you know, it's clear, and right there, like, I go like, I know it's good. You know? So if I go line by line, I can explain each line, you know, because it's just two verses. And the first song says, Daddy came around every once in a while, but Mama, she was there all the time. So basically that's a broken home, you know, and Daddy comes around, you kind of like, you come around and Mom and Dad are fighting and stuff like, you know, but summertime in Compton was not like TV, but we were right there where we needed to be. So that's, you know, what we saw on TV and what was the ideal thing, you know, like little families and, you know, white families usually, Cleveland, Leave It to Beaver, and, you know, all these things are on TV, Father Knows Best and things. Didn't look nothing like it anyway. And when we lived in Compton, by those early years, when I moved to Compton, Compton was a very diverse community, and within a few years it was a very closed-off community, if you know what I mean. They call it white flight, you know. But then we were right there where we needed to be, you know what I mean? In other words, even though it wasn't perfect, it was perfect, you know. So and then they're talking about like the Thurman boys on Peach Street, you know, they were living across the street from me, and they hang on. And they were broken home too, so they just had their father and no mother, you know. So proud of themselves, and they're proud of that old raggedy Pontiac that they thought was so cool, you know. And Miss Brooks, her Bible, and her 3 little boys is the church lady across the street at the Double Rock Baptist, which is right around the corner of the big church. We all had to go to church. Everybody went to church, and in church you learned about the blues. That's when you really learned about the blues in church. Because you had to sit there through the sermons. And, you know, and so you're like, you know, the joyful note at the Double Rock Baptist Church, you know. Then there's more than one way home, ain't no right way, ain't no wrong. It's just like about life's good. It is what it is. You know, well, wherever you are, you're in the right place. Then it goes to like, you know, the next verse is like, you know, got me a job at the grocery store, which I did, the Country Farmers Market on the corner of Oleander and Howard. Working weekdays after school from 5 to 9, literally from 5 to 9, you know, because you had to get back home and have to do your homework, you know, after school. And then like, you know, and when the Eagle flied on Friday, I'd go out to play, you know, waste some time with those at the doctor. But then there's Tommy, John, and Charlie were the neighborhood stars, and that's the most significant line in the song. Because Tommy, John, and Charlie were 3 guys that were on the Dodgers, the LA Dodgers. And one was Tommy Davis, John Roseborough, and Charlie Neal, and they lived in Compton. And we would walk by their houses every day to go to school. And we would see them riding around in like cars. They had cool cars, and everybody knew them, and they were the inspiration for the community. And that was right during the age when like, you still had to live in a black neighborhood if you were white, if you were black. It's like you couldn't live up in certain places, you know. And so they lived in the neighborhood, you know, and when things changed, they moved out. But that moment of inspiration when you see, like, you know, I have to give R. Kelly credit for writing a great song, even though he's done some really crazy things, you know. He did do it, June. If you can see it, you can be it. You know, so we saw great people in our community. So Compton has this legacy of greatness. I mean, they got great actors coming out of the air. They got the Williams sisters and, you know, Dr. Dre and NWA and all these really, and there's more that you don't hear about. It's a community of really great things and great stuff. It was a great community. That's what I want to say in that song. You know, and I didn't know, like I said earlier, I don't really know what's going on until 10, 20 years later. And I look back and go like, wow, that was perfect. That was absolutely exactly the way it was supposed to be. And that's what the song is about. You know? What you want? You come to kick us out? We pay our rent.
Well, see, there are people who are waiting to listen to you right after this.
What am I talking about?
I don't know.
That's how it is.
Being amazing you.
Kevin, don't leave.